Okay, welcome everybody to the fourth CO.AS.IT webinar. It's an absolute delight to be here with everybody. I hope you're going to find this session very practical and useful. As you can see on my title slide there, we're going to be looking at some formative assessment tools, two tools in particular, Google Forms and Socrative, which can be useful for formative assessment opportunities, seeing where the children are at, and then putting in intervention strategies based on the results that they produce. And in both cases of these two tools, they both produce an Excel spreadsheet or a Google sheet, which you can export so you can see the evidence of how the children are getting on. And then based on their results, you can then put in intervention strategies. So my contact details are on the screen there. I'm just at Joe Dale on Twitter, and I'm joedale@talk21.com. It is a very worrying time at the moment for everybody. So if there's anything you're not sure about, anything you want help with, just let me know, and I'm more than happy to help. I'm more than happy to do sessions for your department or your schools, cross-curricular sessions around webinars, around remote teaching, or any ideas to do with technology and learning. So do stay in touch if you would like to. So let's kick off with the next slide. So that's interesting. Okay, I can see I'm on slide 10. So let's go to slide 2. There we are. So officially, I would like to thank CO.AS.IT for allowing me to provide these webinars for you completely for free, which I'm very grateful to CO.AS.IT for this opportunity. And I sincerely hope that you found the information useful. I have had some lovely feedback so far, which has been great, and I very much appreciate it. And I'm really delighted to help in this difficult time. So officially thanking CO.AS.IT and Ferdinando for making these webinars possible for the Italian teachers in Victoria. Okay, so this is what we're going to try and cover in the next hour. As you can see, I've really reduced the amount of content we're going to be covering, but we're going to really dig down deep into the different tools we're going to be having a look at, and there'll be some opportunities for interaction as well. So you can see we're going to be focusing on Google Forms and Socrative. Can I just see in the chat if you're used to using either Google Forms or Socrative? You could just either put a yes or a no in the chat, or if you prefer, you can click on the participants option and use the nonverbal feedback we talked about in webinar 1, which is just clicking on, say, for example, you can click on the little green circle or the red circle, according to whether you want to say yes or no, or just put in the chat. So I can see that a lot of you are new to these, which is excellent. Okay, that's really good. Well, that's good that it's going to be new. That's great. So Google Forms and Socrative are both very, very flexible in how they can be used. And we're going to experience how they feel right now. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to go through this document with you. So this is, I was actually inspired, as you can see on the in the text there at the top, by Chris Betcher, who I've known for many years now, for about 12 years, 13 years, I think. I think I first connected with him in about 2007 on Twitter. And if you don't know Chris, he's an EdTech enthusiast from Australia, just north of Sydney. I've actually been lucky enough to stay with him one time a couple of years ago when I was down in Australia. And he just posted randomly a link to a Google form which he created, which he called Quiz Questions Galore Google Form. And I was really inspired by this, because what he'd done was he went through and showcased lots of different examples of exercise types that you can have within a Google form. And so I thought, oh, that's a really interesting idea. What I should do now, having been inspired by this, is to do the same thing, but focusing on language teachers and language learning, which is what I've done. Now, I'm going to show you this form in a second, but you can see that there are two links on the screen. The first one is the link to the form, and the second one is a link to what I was referring to yesterday as making a hard copy of a form. And essentially, all you have to do is you just have to delete the section at the end, which starts with view form $USP equals SF_link, which you've got on your screen right there. And you change that to copy, as I suggested in the Jamboard idea yesterday. So you can, for example, when you're talking about Google Docs, Google Sheets, Google Forms, you can automatically make a copy for everybody. which means that when the teachers click on the link, it will automatically ask you to make a copy. And as a result of that, you'll never, ever get anyone editing your original, which is not what you want to do. So with that in mind, actually, I'm just going to share the copy with you right now. So you can actually have it right now if you want to. So you can have a play with it. So there's that. If you click on that link, it should say, do you want to make a copy? And but I'm also going to show you live the different exercise types. Okay. So if I click on that, could you just let me know in the chat, if you click on that, does it ask you to make a copy? I hope so, otherwise I'll look very silly. But that should work absolutely fine. Can you just let me know? Yeah, perfect. Okay, that's excellent. Right, okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to go through and explain each activity type. And what I've done for each exercise is I've actually added a description of how to put each one together. Okay, so you can see, for example, at the top here, I've got Chris's original link, and then I've also written how to set up the form from the point of view of once you've completed the form, once you've gone through the different exercise types you want to create, you then click on the cog option and quizzes, and you make it into a quiz. And then as a result of that, you can then click on the send option and then share the link with everybody. So just to show you what I mean, I'm going to click on the little pen icon bottom right. So it takes me to the editable version of Google Forms. And now what I'm going to do is just click on the cog here, top right. And you can see that one of the options is quizzes. Okay, so if I click on quizzes, I can then select the button here, the switch here, to then turn my form into a quiz. So you can use a Google form just, for example, as a survey tool without having it as a quiz at all. But the great thing about a quiz is it's self-marking. So if there's like a right or wrong answer, what Google Forms will do is it will mark it for you, which is a great way of saving time. Once you've created one quiz, you can then just click on the three dots top right, which is just here, and you can make a copy of any quiz that you want to. So you can just basically, as you can see here, make a copy, which is a really useful feature. So it doesn't mean that you're, doing everything from scratch each time. You can just make a copy. So if you want to do this as a weekly spelling test, for example, with your classes, which I know some people do, then that's really nice. And then this is a newish feature, which is import questions. So if I click on that one, what I can do is I can bring up another form which I've created and bring in a question from that other form straight into my new form, which is also a great time saver. Okay, so the first thing I would recommend when you're creating a Google form is that you put the question, what is your surname? And the reason I would suggest that is because when you export your results as a Google Sheet, which I'll show you how to do later, you can alphabetize all the results. So by doing that, you can then see very clearly the first person in your list down to the last person according to the alphabet of their surname, and that will then mirror your mark book. Okay, I see Anna's put a question. Yeah, so when you're assigning a quiz, if you're using Google Classroom, Anna, then you can automatically make a copy for each student. So that if you're using a Google Classroom environment, if you're in a Google Classroom environment, that's what I would suggest. If you're not in a Google Classroom environment, you don't need to make a copy for each student. All you need to do is, as I will show you here, if I click on the preview option like this, and I actually turn this into a form, a live form, which in fact, let me just show you. If I click back here, if I click on the send option like this, and I click on the link option, and you can do shorten URL as well. You just copy that, and then you paste that into the chat, whatever you're using as a video conferencing tool. Or you can do the force copy option for the teacher, but you don't need to do that with the students. You just basically put the link in the chat, whichever chat you're using. But if you're in a Google Classroom environment, you can make a quiz and then assign it automatically as a copy for each student. So that's what I would suggest. Hopefully that's clear. Okay. In fact, talking of that, if you have Google Classroom, I would really recommend a Facebook group called Google classroom for MFL teachers, okay, which is here. MFL stands for Modern Foreign Languages, and that's got over 1,500 members in it. There's also one for Office 365, which has only just started, which I'm aware of, which is aimed at language teachers, which I will find the link for you right now, if you just give me a second. So I'm sure you'll find this useful as well. Let me just find in my groups. 2 seconds. Where are we? Just in my iPad now, looking at the different groups I'm in. Where is it? Here we are. It's called MFL Office 365 Ideas, Tips and Tricks. Okay, so that one's not as active at the moment compared to the other ones. The other one I've just mentioned, but yeah, there we are. Okay, so yeah, so if you started with what is your surname, that's really useful for mirroring your mark book the way I've described. Then having what's your first name, and then as you can see here, what I've done here is I've put in a description box. So to do that, you click on the plus icon, and then you get a little, there we are. Can you see this has now appeared here? And here you've got short answer, paragraph, multiple choice, checkbox, drop down, file upload, linear scale, some of which I'm going to be using right now. Now, I'm not actually using this particular one, so I'm going to delete this like that. But I'm going to do an actual form with you in a moment, a simple one. But just to go through these different examples, first of all, of what you can do, because people seem to like that. They like to see the examples first and then the how-to guide, as it were, after that. Right. So in this first one, this is a multiple choice activity. So if I click on the link here, you can see what I've done is I've selected multiple choice in the drop-down menu. And then all my examples are in French. Apologies for that. I don't know Italian, but you'll get the idea of what I'm doing here. So as you can see, I've literally written a description of how to set this up and advice on how to do this. So yeah, as you can see, it says, write in the different options using text only for the question and answers. Click answer key, which is here. Okay, so once you've done your, once you put in the information and then you turn it into a quiz in the way that I've described, e.g., click on the cog, click on quizzes, and then make it a quiz. This answer key option comes up. So I put in the different options here, and then you click answer key like that, and you simply select the radio button next to the correct answer. If you want to, I've never done this personally, but if you want to, you can also click on the add answer feedback option. And you could, for example, put in some feedback as text, or if you prefer, you can click on the link icon and you could post in a link that you've made using a screencasting tool like Screencastify, which is, I've demonstrated that one already on how to use that. So if you made a screencast of an explanation for the feedback, you can then click on the link and post it in, or post in a video that you've put onto YouTube. So, you know, that you could be, maybe that's a bit over the top to do feedback for every single question, but there is that possibility. And I suppose once you've done it once, if you make a generic piece of feedback, then you can then just add it very easily. So hopefully that's clear on the first question. We are going to go through this step by step in a moment as well, making our own one. So that's the first question as a multiple choice question. If we go further down, the next question is also multiple choice, but this time, as you can see, I've added images. So as you can see, I've written, add images as multiple choice options by clicking on the image icon to the right of each option and use Google image search to find images or upload your own. So that's really nice from the point of view of, this one is obviously looking at sporting activities. And it's very nice, I think, the way that it looks. Now, you can see here that it's in a chronological list, but actually when you go to the view option, the preview option, it goes into this nice little grid. What I would recommend is that you make sure that the images are either all portrait or all landscape, so it looks nice. Probably landscape is going to be the best, and they're all a similar size, so it looks nice on the page. So yeah, that's another option which you can explore. So it doesn't have to be just text, you can have images as well, which is great. Okay, let's go further down. So in this one, this is also, in this one, I've used the image option as the in the actual question. So I've just written example reading text, as you can see, multiple times. So I created this in Google Drawing, and I just made this random picture and then saved it. But what you could do is you could use the Snipping Tool, which comes with Windows, or you can find out how to do a screenshot with a Mac if you have a Mac, or whichever device you're using. So the Snipping Tool allows you to then make a selection of your page and then turn it into a screenshot. So you could, for example, take a text from a PDF or from somewhere else, turn it into text, into an image, and then add it as the image for your question at the top. Okay, so you can see it goes through on how to do this. I've also talked here about in the feedback option, you could use Screencast-File Loom to add your feedback, as well as about the snipping tool. There's also a Google Form add-on called Snip, which I will have here. Let's have a look. Yeah, can you see here? It says Snip. So if I click on Snip, and then it says Snipped Images or Snip, and then it's got the instructions there. But you might as well, to be honest with you, you might as well use the Google Form, the Snipping Tool option. But there is that option as well. Okay, and then underneath, I've just done multiple choice again, like this. In the next option, it says multiple choice again. This is when you've got an image at the top, and underneath, not only have you got the multiple choice, you've also got images as well. So this is when you're using a lot of images in order to do your question, either as the question here or as the possible answers as well. So that's another option there. Is this okay with everyone so far? What I'm saying, is it nice and clear? Obviously, you have to play yourselves, but hopefully I'm inspiring you with the different possibilities of what you can do with Google Forms. In the next option, it says Google Forms allow you to use images in questions, ? So this one is a true or false option, whereby I've chosen multiple choice again. But this time, if I click on here, as you can see, I've written very full. You can see here, I've got the image option. And so I could have an image as well. In fact, let me just go back for a second to this one. If I click here again, you can see, if I were to click add option, add other, you can see that here, this is, no, hang on, that's not right. Hang on. Yeah, if I were to get rid of that image, I could then add, just click here. Yeah, here we are, right. If I add another option, as you can see here, it's got the add image option. So if I click on that, I can then go to Google Image Search, and I could then put in something like, I don't know, basketball, for example. Okay, so I click on basketball. I find a picture like this one. Okay, I click insert, and it will then appear like that. And then it will then, when we then click on answer key, you can see that I can then say if it's the right answer or not. It's not the right answer, so I'm going to stick with this one. But you get the idea. So if I now click done, and if I want to get rid of that picture, I can just do that, and I can click here and click the X to get rid of it. There we are. So we're back to what we were before. Okay, for this one, you can see that that's where the image is. If I were to delete that, I'd have an image option. I could then add my image. And here you have to make sure that you say what the correct answer is. And you've got the different image options here if I wanted to add an image to that as well. Okay, hopefully that's nice and clear. For this one, if I click here, again, I can delete that image. If I click here, like that, I can click here, for example, and then I can add an image there, and that's how that works. Okay, and then here, the true or false one, again, multiple choice. I could have an image, but I've not added an image for this one. I've just made a choice of true or false. So when you're doing multiple choice, it doesn't have to be always 4 answers. It could just be 2 answers if you prefer. And again, under the answer key, I click on that, and I click on the correct one. And don't forget, for each time that you do this, you need to assign a point or number of points for each question. So that's an easy mistake to make. If you don't assign the points, then it won't work. So you need to decide how many points you want to add for each question. For all of these ones, I've just given 1 point for the correct answer, and all the answers which are not deemed correct, e.g. they don't match what I've said is the correct answer, they'll all be marked as incorrect, although you can put alternative answers in as well. So if I click done, right, this one's a bit clever, I think. So what I've done here is I've put in audio answers. So I've used a tool called the online voice recorder, which I can see, actually I've not, hang on, online voice recorder it should be, like that. So just to show you how this works, if I go to a new page and I go to online voice recorder, this is the link that you want, this one, right? So if I just click record like this, okay, so this is me recording using the online voice recorder. It's a really simple piece of software. It's a web tool which allows you to record audio in the browser and as well as edit it top and tail the recording like this. Okay, so I've just done that. As you can see, I've got a slider at the beginning like that. Can you see? And a slider at the end. I can now press play the recording like this. Let's put that, but there we are. Okay, so this is me recording using the online voice recorder. There we are. So I now click save. I save it to my desktop, which is here. Okay, and I then upload it into Google Drive. And the important thing here, let me just go back to where we were. The important thing here is when you put it to Google Drive, you need to put it into a folder, which you then make shareable, and the instructions are all here. I don't really want to show you like my desktop and then my Google Drive, because obviously we're recording this right now. But it's very, very straightforward. You just have to, as you can see here, you upload the results. So you go to Google Drive, you click on the plus icon, top left, and then you then upload, or the new icon, you upload your file. Once it's in Google Drive, I would suggest putting all the audio you're going to use in a Google form into the same folder. And then you right click that folder and you select Get Shareable Link and make sure that the link sharing option is enabled, which is very straightforward when you do that. You then go into the folder, you right click a file, which is what I've done here. You click Get Shareable Link and you choose, let's say, a multiple choice option, if that's what you're going to do. And then you just paste the link in each one. So that means now if I, for example, click on the preview option and I go down to this exercise, you can see these are all live links now. So if I click on this one, for example, it will take me to here and I can then play the audio like this. Answer 1. There we are. And all the other ones say answer 2, answer 3, answer 4. So you get the idea on how that works. And that's how you can have audio as different answers. So as I said, there's step-by-step instructions there, and hopefully that's nice and clear. But I don't really want to show you all my files on my desktop and my Google Drive, if that's okay. Right. So those are all the multiple choice options. Now, another option you've got here is multiple choice grid. Now, if I click on here, if I click on the edit option here, bottom right, edit this form, I can now go further down. And as you can see here, this is, oh, let's go further down again. This is how this looks. So you can see what I've done is I've used the multiple choice grid this time. And this is a type of matching exercise whereby you have different values here in the first column, or the different rows, should I say, and then you've got all the different columns here. Now, what I would suggest is for the bits of language that are longer, that you have all of those in the first column or the rows here, and then the shorter items you put in this in the different columns here, because you can have less, or so you can have fewer letters here compared to here, which I'll show you in more detail in a moment. In fact, let me just have it. If I just show you, we might have an example of this actually. But anyway, but yeah. So in the first one, here we are. Look, can you see here? I've got a lot more text there, and when I preview this, you'll be able to see exactly what all the text says. In fact, let me just do that right now. If I click on the preview option, this is also using the multiple choice grid. You can let's have a look here. Can you see? You can see all the text here, and that looks a lot better compared to here when you can only have a few letters. So that's what I would suggest when you set this up by using the preview option. Right, let's go back to here. Okay, so if I go back to, yeah, so this one. So this is a matching exercise. You create the matching exercise by typing the shorter items in the column, single words or short phrases, and the longer items in the row, single word, short phrase, or a sentence. As I've explained, as the rows have the capacity for more space, that's the best way to do it. So you then you make sure that you require a response for each item. So in order to do that, if we click on here, can you see that it says require a response in each row? For this type of activity, I would make sure that that is selected. Under the answer key, you click on that, and then you can see here what you do is you put in the answers like that. But the key here is that when you click on the three dots, you've got the shuffle row order option, because otherwise it will be too easy, obviously, because it'll always be in the same order. But if you choose the shuffle row order option, that means that there'll be mix up each time that you do the quiz. So that's really nice, I think, from that point of view. Okay, that's particularly important as well, actually, in this one when it's put the dialogue in the right order. So if I click here, and you'll see that if I click on the three dots, can you see I've got shuffle row order, and that is enabled. Whereas in the previous one I showed you, it's not actually enabled. So you don't have to do that, actually, going back to what I've just said. You don't have to do shuffle row order for this activity, but if the idea is to put the dialogue, for example, in the right order, then you do need to have the shuffle the row order option selected. So hopefully that's clear on how that works. You then got this one, put the choose the order of the different items in a sentence and put them back in the right order. So again here, if I click here, I've got the shuffle row order enabled, otherwise it would be too easy and it would be the same each time. So again, you click on the answer key like this, and you simply select all the correct answers and then assign 1 point per answer. So the maximum number of points you can get for this one is 7, and that's how that works. Okay. Then the dialogue one is a similar idea. For this one, I would say that don't have more than 9 items in your dialogue, because if you do, it means that you'll get a scroll bar appearing at the bottom of the screen, and it just gets a bit unmanageable, I think. So I would suggest that if you're going to do a dialogue, you don't have more than 9 items. Okay, so it works in a similar sort of way. You put the dialogue in here, make sure that there is only one possible order, otherwise it'll get confusing. You click the answer key, you put in all the correct, so you can see the scroll bar at the bottom there. So if I go along here, I can now show you what it looks like. But in the actual form itself, you don't want to have this scroll bar, otherwise it gets very confusing, I think. So that one's there. Is that okay with everyone so far? Can you just let me know in the chat if that's nice and clear what I'm showing you? Just to make sure with everybody. Great. Because normally Google Forms, what I've normally done in the past is I've normally just done like just a text-based vocab test, but actually being inspired by Chris Betcher's form, I actually can see now there are many, many more possibilities of using Google Forms. Right, this is another one. This is a drop-down option. So not multiple choice. Well, it is multiple choice, but it's called a drop-down option. And for this one, if I show you, if I click on the preview option, and I go further down, which is here, can you see? This is what it looks like. So if I click on here, then you've then got all the different options for all the verbs which take the être verb in French. I don't know if you have the same in Italian, but this is really nice if you have when you have lots and lots of different options in multiple choice, and it would make it a bit silly to have it as all the options all in one place as the standard multiple choice option. But if you've got the drop down option, then you have them all hidden away, and it's much easier for the students to then select that without sort of making the form unmanageable. So again, you just choose the right answer and it marks it for you. So if I click on here like this, if I go back to edit mode like this, and I go back to here, right? And then I click here and I simply put a tick next to the correct answer, having clicked on the answer key, and then I give the number of points for that particular answer. So that's how that works. Okay. Right. So let's go further down. This one is the checkbox option. So as you can see, it says the checkbox option allows you to design questions with more than one correct answer. So it might be, as in this example, which are the verbs which are regular and which ones are irregular. So there's more than one answer which is correct there, which is why you use the checkbox option, which means you can select more than one right answer, which is very, very nice. So if I click on that, you can see I've got the 2 ticks there, and I've also got the opportunity of adding images as well if I want to. So I click on answer key, and there we are. Yep, that's how that works. Right, the next one, also a checkbox one. This is quite nice. So as you can see here, I've done the same idea as before with the audio, but this time I've included it within the question. So that means now if I click on the preview option and I go further down to here, I can now click on this link, or the students can click on this link that will take me to then here, and then they can then listen to the audio, go back to the form, and then put in which answers are correct and which answers are not correct. So I just do a little bit of audio there. In fact, let me just play it for you. Here we go.
Le week-end dernier, je suis allé au cinéma avec mon ami Bob. On a vu le dernier film de James Bond, c'était super. Après, nous sommes allés au restaurant pour manger des super bons pizzas.
Okay, so that was obviously in French. So I was just saying, last weekend I went to the cinema, or last week I went to the cinema to watch the latest James Bond film. Afterwards, I went to the restaurant with my friend and we had pizza. So then what you would then do is you then tick all the boxes which refer to the correct answers and leave blank the ones which don't. And then you just then mark it automatically as a result of that. So I just go back to the edit option. Here we are. And you can see if I go back to that exercise, it's here. And if I click on here, you can see which ones are correct and which ones I've just left blank because they're not correct. And then to get the points, you then have to get all the correct answers. I think I'm right in saying. Anyway, but all the instructions are there on how to do this. Right, the next one is a sort of classic fill in the blank option. So back in the day when I was teaching, I used to do this all the time with what was referred to as hot potatoes, which I don't know if you've heard of, but hot potatoes is like an interactive tool for creating these types of exercise. I just put it in the chat. It is still available. It's completely free, and you can make your own interactive exercises, put them into a cycle of web pages and have them all linked together. So here, which is what I used to do all the time, you have the underline for the blank, and then at the end you've got the brackets of the verb, and the idea is that then the children would then have to conjugate the answer, but put the answer here where it says short answer text. Okay. And as you can see here, I put what the correct answer is. So anything which is not correct will be marked as incorrect. Okay. So this is really nice for that whole sort of practice of conjugations. I used to find this really useful with my own classes to help them really understand how to conjugate verbs simply by doing repetitive activities like this. So you could just, as you can see here, click on the copy option, duplicate option, and then just change each one. In fact, what I did was I asked the children to do homework electronically, which is quite innovative back in the day in like 2000 and whatever that was, 2005 or 2006 or something. So they would do that. They would send me their answers as an email. I would then convert them into a hot potatoes activity. And then that was really nice. That worked really nicely. Okay, if we go further down, this is just a little list of comprehension. So I've embedded a YouTube clip, which I've created. And then you can see underneath here, I've gone for the short answer option. So here, if I click here, then you can see what the answers are. And then if that matches what they write, then it's deemed as correct. This next one is using the tick box grid. Okay, so as you can see here, that's quite nice as well. So you've got multiple answers, and you just simply click on the right one. So you click on answer key. So you can see how I've set it up, and you get 1 point for each correct answer. So that's quite nice as well if you've got multiple answers as well. So hopefully you'll find this form really inspiring, and I mean the sorts of forms you can then create are going to be a lot more diverse than maybe what you've been doing previously. Or if you've never seen Google Forms before, then this is great from that point of view. This one is a bit more innovative as well. I was actually inspired by a language teacher from Canada, whose name is Glenn Cake, great surname. So he's Glenn, like that, Glenn Cake. His Twitter handle is gcakey. He's a great person to follow. And he's using this for speaking practice, which I thought was really cool. So what he's suggesting is that you go to Vocaroo, which I'll just go up here and show you. You go to Vocaroo, like this, .com, which works on all devices. You record some audio like this. Blah, 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 blah. Okay. You then click Save and Share. You then click the copy option here. And then you go back to the Google form. And you simply paste in the link there. Now that audio will be valid for about a month or so. So that means that when the teacher gets the recording, let me just show you. If I click the plus icon and paste it in, this is what the teacher will see. There we are, that's what you're seeing. And then the teacher can then just click download, and then you've got it as a permanent offline file. So as speaking practice, I think that's really ingenious, personally. I think that's great. And then to finish off with, and that's obviously, you can't mark that one. You'd have to mark that independently. It won't self-mark the audio. And then in the last one, this is called the linear scale option. And that allows you to ask the students their opinion about the activity, which might be a nice one to finish with each time. So you have a statement here, as you can see. And then you could have, for example, strongly agree, strongly disagree, and then the numbers here. So they have a scale to show what the answers are. This is how you set it up, and there's no points for this one, obviously, and that's it. So I've given you the copy now of this Google form. So all you need to do is just replicate the same ideas, and you'll have lots and lots of practical different activity types you can use within Google Forms. So hopefully you found that useful. Let me go back to my presentation, and let's go on to the next one. Okay, so we're going to have a look at Socrative now. Socrative, as a few of you have said, you've not seen before. So Socrative is a free formative assessment tool which lets you create multiple choice activities, true or false, short answers, as well as make your own pre-made quizzes. I've put some screenshots here from different language teachers from the UK, how they're using Socrative. So you can see, for example, you've got, on the left-hand side, you've got this text which is highlighted in yellow. This is from a Guardian article from 2014 that a teacher who I know called William Strange wrote. And you can see here that he's talking about the idea of using Socrative to help with the teaching of a particular grammar point. They can do an interactive quiz, and this is really useful for assessment for learning. And all the results are collated and fed back to the teacher automatically via email. On the right-hand side, this is the Harrogate Grammar School where Will taught, and you can see here it says Socrative to check understanding of grammar. Report shows patterns of common problems, and exit tickets are great for gaining individual feedback. And then here, Hawthorne Languages, they're using this as a sort of a fun way of consolidating the future tense. And then on the left-hand side here, the idea of this was to have lots of different Socrative exercises all together in the same place with their own code, because you can share a code with everybody that when you make a Socrative quiz. But unfortunately, I think this is all the codes that were actually shared. So it was a nice idea, but it didn't sort of actually, people didn't sort of take it up really and go with it. But never mind, that's fine. Right, let's go on to the next page. And what I want you to do now, please, is to go to Socrative.com and go to student login, not teacher login, student login. And I'm going to do an activity with you live right now. And then the room name is 29701, which I will put in the chat for you. 29701. Okay, I'm going to come out of my presentation now, and I'm going to show you how this works live by going here. And I should be, there we are, I'm still logged in. So if you could do that now for me, please. Go to Socrative.com, log in as a student, not as a teacher, and put in the room number, which, as you can see at the top there, is 29701. And as a result of that, I can then do some interactive activities with you, if that's okay. Socrative is completely free. There is a premium version of Socrative, but everything I'm showing you is completely free. And it's been around for a long time. It's a very useful tool, I think. And it looks a bit more formal compared to other things such as Kahoot or quizzes or Gimkit or things like that. But there we are. But I think it's on a similar level to Google Forms in its sort of formality. But it's very nice, I think, and it's good for formative assessment opportunities. Right. So is that okay with everyone? Is everyone in the room? Got 12 people in the room. I'll just wait another minute or two, another few more seconds, should I say, for everyone to get into the room. It also works on all devices. There's an app version. But you can just use the browser version. You don't have to have the app version. So that's fine. And I'll just wait another second or two. So you can see there's a number of different quick fire questions you can do. You can do multiple choice, true or false, or short answer, which we're going to start off with. And then we'll then go on to how to make your own pre-made quiz in a second. Okay, I think we're going to start, if that's okay. I can see that there are some people maybe that just want to watch, which is fine. So first of all, I'm going to click on the multiple choice option. And by doing that, you should now have A, B, C, D, and E appearing on your screen. I could obviously ask a question at this point, such as, in fact, I could ask this question right now. So could you indicate for A, B, C, D, or E, where A is, well, the question is about remote teaching. I want you to tell me how you're feeling about remote teaching. So A is when you're feeling really, really confident about remote teaching. You've got everything sorted. You're good to go. Down to E, I haven't got a clue what to do. I'm terrified. I'm feeling really challenged. So can you just indicate here how you're feeling about remote teaching? And so by doing that, by using this sort of quick fire multiple choice option, I can see pretty quickly in the room who is feeling more confident compared to other people. And I could then ask the people, I mean, this is all anonymous. I don't know who has written what, who's put what, but obviously I could then say, oh, right, so if you are feeling overwhelmed, you could try this, or you could try that. Or the people that are feeling really confident, maybe you could help out the E's. No D's, interestingly enough, but the E's in the room, and so everyone can support each other. So that's a really nice way of gauging the feeling in the room. And I think particularly at this moment, when everyone's feeling a bit worried and challenged and scared and what have you, which I talked about in previous webinars, having these sorts of check-ins with students, I think is incredibly important. Okay, but you could also use this as an exit ticket. In other words, you could say, if you've really understood the lesson, put A down to E. I haven't got a clue what you're talking about. So again, you could get an indication of how people are getting on from that point of view. That's lovely. Well done, everyone, so far. If I now click on the true false option on your screen, it should now say true or false. So again, I could say a statement such as, remote teaching is a good idea. Do you think that's a true statement, or do you think that's a false statement? Let's see how we get on. Oh, it's neck and neck. So again, you can just ask a question on the fly with your students, and then everyone can fill it in. Okay, I can see a couple of you are still thinking about it, which is fine. But most people seem to think that that remote teaching is a good idea, which is lovely. Okay, the last one, which I think is the most useful one in lots of ways, is the short answer one. So if I click on that one, you can see I've got an optional question here. I can write the question down if I want to, but I'm not going to do that. So I'm just going to say it out loud. I would not select allow unlimited responses. If you've got, say, a class of 30, you can have way too many responses to deal with if each child has more than one response. And require student names, that's a personal decision. I'm going to leave that blank for now. And I'm now going to click on start. Yeah, I agree, Angela. I think a blended approach is the best way. And if we can have that, which seems to be what's going to be happening based on our discussion earlier before we started recording, it's going to be a blended approach. You can have some face-to-face classroom time as well as some remote teaching as well, which sounds ideal. Well, it sounds better than just completely remote teaching, I think. Right. So as you can see, I've got to ask you a quick question now. So the quick question is, can you tell me how you're feeling right now about remote teaching? So what I would like you to do, please, I'd like you to write down how you're feeling about remote teaching, and then all the answers will start to appear on the screen. And then I can then do the next part of this section. So I can see that so far we've got people writing things like not bad, great, want to learn more. Well, you know how to find out some more. You can ask me to do a webinar for you. That'd be great. As well as looking at that very long document, which I shared with you a few times. I'll just put that in the document in the chat again, is.gd/tilters. That will give you lots of things to be getting on with. But feel free to ask me to do a webinar as well. As you can see here, we've got different comments. I'm feeling confident. That's great. Not very confident. Oh dear. Overworked and ready to return to the classroom. Yeah, I'm sure people are working incredibly hard, and I appreciate everything that you're doing. Want to give Socrative a go. That's great. Fine. That's lovely. That's lovely. So mostly positive, which is really nice to see. Now, I'm going to go on to the next bit, which is this. Can you see it says start vote? This is really, really good, I think. If you click on start vote and click yes, then on your screen, you're going to see all the answers that people have given. And I would like you to vote for your favorite one. Don't vote for yourself, otherwise it gets a bit silly. So let's see which is the most positive, or the most popular answer. So you could do that for me now, please. I can then see how many votes each one has got. So again, you can see very quickly and easily, visibly, how people are answering, and you can then use that a bit like Mentimeter that we've looked at already previously. You can gauge how your class is feeling and then interact with them as a result of that. So at the moment, we've got a bit of a split. Some people are saying tired but excited to give Socrative a go. That's great. Some people talking about wanting to learn more, being excited. Can you see how they're changing? That's really interesting. So the most popular one so far is tired but excited to give Socrative a go. So you've got a growth mindset, which I'm loving. That's great. So again, yeah, I think that's really, really nice to be able to vote as well. Okay, let's click finish. And then here, you've got the download option, which we'll have a look at later, because I want to show that in a moment. Right, we're now going to go to the quiz option. I've created a quiz for you, which is this one, the CO.AS.IT example quiz, which I've done just for you guys. So I'll click next. What I would recommend here is going to where it says teacher paste. Now, this is incredibly important in the next slide, which I've actually referred to this already in a previous webinar. But in a previous webinar, I was talking about using Socrative with a teacher paste option, which means you can then choose how long each child has to complete the quiz that you're doing with them. So if you're using this for reading comprehension, which we're going to have an example of that in a moment, you could have a screenshot of a text, which you then add into each image option of each question. You then give the children X amount of time, say 2 minutes or 3 minutes per question. So that should discourage them from using, let's say, Google Translate, because the fact it's not text they can just copy and paste into Google Translate because it's an image. So and then you can also, if you're allowed to have the webcam pointed at their hands, you could then see that they're not using a second device as well. So you could use this for a summative assessment opportunity. I'm going to get rid of that as well. Click Start. There we are. So you can see the first question is very difficult. What language is this text written in? So you can then obviously answer that accordingly on your screen, and we can then go from there. Okay, so I can see that most of you have answered this so far. I know it's a very challenging question, but there we are. So hopefully that's clear, how to add the image. I will show you how to do that myself in a moment. Okay, I'll just give you another second or two to answer the question. If I want to, I can click on the How Do We Do option, which means I can show what the correct answer is, like that. And I can see that all of you have got the correct answer, which is very nice to see. Right, let's go on to the next question. If I click Next, okay. Also a very difficult question. This image I've created this in what's called Auto Draw, which I think I've shown you. But if I haven't shown you, if I just show you right now, if I click on the plus icon and go to autodraw.com, which looks like this. If I click Start Over and I draw what's supposed to be a cat, which is not the best picture of a cat in the world, but never mind. And at the top of the screen, as you can see there, you've now got a picture of a cat, and you click on that, and there's a picture of a cat. And if you want to change the different color, you just, before you start drawing, you just select the color here. Then you click on the hamburger, or the 3 lines there, and you click Download. It downloads the image like that, and then you then insert it into Socrative, which is what I was just doing. Right, so let's go back here, and that's how that works. Okay, right, well done for everyone answering that. There we are, brilliant. And then the last question, you click Next, and this is a question just for you guys. How do you say a pizza, not just pizza, but a pizza, not the pizza, a pizza in Italian? So then you have to put the answers there. Perfect, 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 perfect. If someone were to write something inappropriate, I could click, actually not on this one, hide. I could click remove in the other ones we were doing. But you can see here that some of you have written una pizza with a capital letter, but it so happens that I put the alternative answers in as having capital letters, which you could choose to do, but obviously you don't have to if you don't want to. I then click on hide answers like that, or show answers, and I can even click on show names as well, which is all coming up as anonymous because of the way I've not asked you to put your name in. Yeah. So that's it. That's how that works. And then if I go here and click finish, and I can click OK, like that. Right. Now, I'm going to do another quiz. Oh, I'm going to do another quiz, but this time I'm going to use Space Race, which is really cool. Now, I hope you don't mind, but I'm going to do one on French ER verbs. If you don't know the answer, don't worry. Just see how you get on. I'm going to click Next. And this is called the Space Race, which is really nice as a plenary activity, I think. I'll just see, right. So this is not, there may be a Chrome extension, Anna, for, when you say for this, do you mean AutoDraw? AutoDraw is just a website, but so Socrative, there probably is a Chrome extension, but you can just do it within the web browser. Right, okay, I can see that someone's asked about if your school doesn't appear in the list of schools when you're signing up. I don't think that matters. I think you can just make it, just put in the name of your school or just make it up. I think it'll be fine. That's what I normally do. Although I've had a Socrative account for years and years and years. Right, so as you can see here, it says number of teams. So I'm going to select, as we've got 26 people in the room, I'm going to click 20, which means that some of you may be paired up. you've got the different icons. You've got rocket, bear, bee, bicycle, spaceship, or unicorn. So obviously we need to go for unicorn. And I always go for auto assign. I'm not going to have, no, I will have show question feedback, and we're good to go. Right, so if I click start, you can see that on your screen, it will have a range of questions. I think it's about 5 or 6 questions. So the winner will be the unicorn, which hits the right-hand side first. And if I was doing this in a real classroom situation, I'd probably have some cool music playing in the background, which I haven't got right now, but you get the idea. So on your screen, you need to put in your name, and then you need to go on to the next question. And what should be happening in a moment is you should all start to move. If that's okay, your unicorn should start to move, which is not happening at the moment. Can you just let me know if this is working okay? Yep, you are moving now. Phew. Good. Okay, so I can see that blue and magenta are racing ahead. There we are. So I'll just give you a moment to finish your quiz, and then we'll go on to the next idea. Magenta's rushing ahead. That's wonderful. Well done, Magenta. So you haven't started yet? Oh dear. Okay. I hope green, rose, and maroon down to crimson are okay. I'm not sure we haven't started yet, but never mind. So you get the idea anyway. So that's how that works. And then in a moment, I'll just give you another second or two. I will click finish, and we'll go from there. Okay, so I can see magenta's finished, and a few others are getting near to finishing. So what I'm going to do now, if it's okay, is I'm going to click finish here, and then click OK. Okay, now having done that, I've got all the answers appearing here. I wouldn't obviously show this to the actual class, but if right now, I can click show answers. You can see here. Okay, and I can also choose to show names as well, like that. Yeah. Now, if I click on reports, top right, and I click download, it will download all the results as an Excel spreadsheet, which is really, really nice, I think. So this will download right now. If I click save, and then I click on the open option, which is here, then what will happen is that Excel will open, and you can now see all the students who need to work on their ER verbs in French. Okay, so as a result of that, I could then use this traffic light system to then put in intervention strategies based on people's results. So that's really, really nice, I think, from that point of view. And that's how that works. Right, let's go back to here. Okay, so if I wanted to create my own quiz, what I would do is I would go to where it says quizzes here, like this, and I would then click add quiz. Okay, and then click create new. If you have the import option, each quiz that you make has its own code. So it means that if you were to make an Excel spreadsheet, similar to the example I showed you earlier, you could put in the activity name, language, the class maybe, the year group it's appropriate for, and the code, and share that with your colleagues. So if you all then populate the same Google Sheet, for example, collaborating together, you're going to save each other a lot of time. Or you could do that as part of the Italian teachers in CO.AS.IT, and then everyone is saving everyone else some time. So to do that, you just copy the code, you click import, and you import it in. So you can see here that by making a quiz, I've got the Socrative code there, and I can then just share that in a spreadsheet, and everyone can then save a bit of time. Right, so if I click here, which says Untitled Quiz, I'm going to put in a title called Capitals, like that. Okay, and then that's good to go. And then I can choose any of these 3 activity types. So I'm going to choose multiple choice, and then I'm going to put in the question What is the capital of Australia? Okay. And then I've put in the different answers. So I could write, for example, Canberra, Melbourne, Brisbane, or Perth, for example. Okay. And then what you have to do, you have to remember to do this. You need to click here and say what the correct answer is. Okay. Now you'll see on the right hand side, which is very nice. Okay, Angela, should be Melbourne. Right. On the right hand side here, can you see you've got this image option? Now, if I click on that, it will take me to my desktop and I can just click on any random thing. Let's click on this one. Okay. And oh, there we are. And then you get a random GIF coming in, which could just be a static image, but in fact, this is a GIF. And so that could be, for example, the reading comprehension text I was talking about earlier. So that's how you can make your own teacher-based assessment, right? So that's how that works. Okay, if I then click on short answer, this one could be, what is the capital of Canada? So in other words, there is a right or wrong answer, yeah? So again, I could click on the image option. I could put the same one in again, or I could put in a random one. Let's put in this fish. There we are. So here, I'm going to put in, obviously, the right answer, but I could put in alternative answers here, and those would also be marked correct, yeah? And that's how that works, and similar with the true or false activity. Right, once you've done that, you're good to go. You then click Save and Exit, like that, and then that's now there. And then to then launch it, as I did earlier, I would click on the Launch option, I would click Quiz, and there's my test. I click capitals, I then click Next, and then we just start it again as we did a moment ago. So that's how Socrative works, and that's how you create your own quizzes. And with that in mind, I'm going to go back to my presentation and present again. But hopefully that's nice and clear on how to make your own Socrative quizzes, how to make them teacher-paced, how to do the quick fire questions, and how to make your own quizzes, and how to share the code with your colleagues to save time. Okay, let's go on to the next slide. Right, I shared this slide with you before, but I just wanted to reiterate about the importance of it. So this is for ideas around summative assessment. So as I've talked about already, you could use Socrative for this, have it teacher-paced. There's also exam.net, which Mary talked about yesterday. In fact, I hope Mary doesn't mind, but I've actually published her audio that she sent me very kindly, which I'm going to include in a future podcast, MFL Twitterati podcast. And I'm going to play this right now, if that's okay. So just to show you how you can embed audio into a Google slide. So what I did was I recorded, Mary sent me the audio. I edited it in Audacity, and then I uploaded it onto Google Drive. And now that it's in Google Drive, you can then go to the, in fact, let me just come out of this and show you. If I click here and click Exit, what you do is you click Insert Audio, and then there you can see that's where Mary's audio is. So you just insert it, you find it where it is. I normally click on Recent as well, actually, and that's a really nice way of finding it quickly and easily. Can you see? So it's only going to pick up audio files. You then click on that, and there it is. And that means now that when I present, I can click play, and you'll all be able to hear Mary's lovely audio. Here we go.
Hi there, my name's Mary Manfield. I'm a senior English, Humanities and Italian teacher, and I've just recently discovered the exam.net program through one of Joe Dale's amazing webinars. I've recently used it in class with my seniors as well as my junior students, and I found it really fantastic. I used it for my Year 9 class for a timed English essay whereby they were given a topic and they had a timed piece, and at the end of that time they were kicked out, and I was able to sync their essays to go straight to Google Drive, which made it super easy to correct. And once I corrected them, I could send them back to their email addresses with all their corrections, which made it a lot more efficient than normal. I also did a listening track. So my husband and I recorded a role play, and my senior students got to listen to that and answer questions in the timepiece as well. And more recently, we did a vocabulary test with my U8s, and they were translating some terms in either English or Italian. I found this program to be really engaging and super efficient. They can't cheat. They get blocked out if they cheat, and the computer will tell me if what they're doing, which is fantastic. So I think it's a great program to have for those who do online learning or for universities or other schools. And I've really thoroughly enjoyed it. So I look forward to seeing what other things I can do with using that program.
Okay, so thank you to Mary for that lovely bit of audio. As you can hear there, Mary's talking about the fact that with exam.net, it encourages the students or discourages the students from cheating because it's monitoring your keyboard. The software can tell whether you've got your hands off the keyboard for X amount of time. You can automatically force to submit the answers to the teacher at any moment. So you could, for example, say, right, you've got an hour to do this test. It has to be done synchronously. You'd also point the webcam at their hands, as is happening in the picture on the right-hand side, where my friend Francois Stolder did a similar thing. So the webcams are pointed at the children's hands, so you can see they're not using Google Translate, and it makes it fair for everybody. I'm sure if students really wanted to, they could find a way of getting around it. But I think if they had maybe 2 monitors or something like that. But it's a really nice tool, and it's completely free for this year. In 2021, it's a Swedish company. I believe they're going to be charging so many euros per student. But at the moment, in 2020, they've committed to it being free, which is obviously when we need it the most. And then you've also got Office Lens there, which allows you to take a photograph or multiple photographs of different bits of handwritten work or anything that's on your camera, turn it into one PDF, and then upload it to Google Drive, wherever you're going to upload it to, which means you could then mark it by hand. So in other words, you could point the camera at the children's hands, get them to write it on a piece of paper, and then turn it into a PDF in the way that I've described, and then upload it. And then you've got DraftBack and DocuViz, which are 2 Chrome extensions, which if you're using the Google Docs, allows you to go through the history, so you can immediately see if anyone has copy and pasted any content into the Google Doc, which is also a nice way of preventing or discouraging the children from using Google Translate. So again, thanks to Mary for that. We had a question from Anna: can you manually assess Socrative quizzes? That's not really the idea of Socrative. The idea of Socrative is to have it marked automatically. So with the short answer ones, you'd have to choose an answer which you wouldn't have, like I say, a paragraph as an answer, because obviously you'd have to, it wouldn't work in that way. You could, use a Google form for that and then just mark it by hand, as it were. The idea of Socrative is it's self-marking. That's the whole point of it, really. So that's what I would suggest. Okay, so just as another little quick reminder, if you wanted more support, let me know. I shared a document with you yesterday, which I'm going to do right now again. These are 17 sessions, which I can offer at the moment. I can do some more as well, I'm sure, and you can then have a look at those. If there's anything bespoke you want me to design, I can then do that very easily. A couple of you have already contacted me about this, which is wonderful. I would love to help more people. Feel free to share the document with whoever you would like, anywhere in Australia, for further opportunities, because I just want to help. Okay. And to finish off with, I haven't put I'm very sorry. I thought I put a link in. Okay, never mind. I would share, that's a bit of a slip up. I will share the link with you right now to the presentation. So I'll show you how to do this. I click on share. I click on here, anyone with a link, and I click copy link, and done. And I'm going to post it in the chat right now for everybody. I thought I'd done this. Obviously, I'm doing too many webinars at the moment. Everyone's human. Everyone makes mistakes from time to time. But the most important thing is that you've got the link there. So you've got the link to the whole presentation. This is all being recorded as well. So when I stop recording, I will upload that onto YouTube, and I will share the link with you as well via Ferdinando. And that's it. That's it for the presentation. So I don't know if Ferdinando would like me to do other webinars in the future, but if there's a need for that, an interest in that, I would obviously love to do more webinars. These are my contact details again, as I've already given you that information. I think at this point I will stop recording, and then we can all put our mics on and you can ask me any other questions that you may do, although I appreciate it's now 5:15. But thank you for bearing with me, and I really sincerely hope you found that useful. So I'm going to stop recording now, like this.